failure to reach effectiveness, and they are 5 in number with a capacity of 13.04 megawatts. Again, is to renegotiate new PPAs as a cure to allow the projects to connect to the grid and enter into commercial operations. And I think, members, you can see up to category E signed effective PPAs that are 3 in number. The capacity is 175.6 megawatts. Again, we have given the recommendations. If you go over to the next page, there are other categories. Those ones that PPAs have been signed but not effective, 8 in number, 288 megawatts. Again, we have given the recommendations. PPA signed, not effective, 6 in number, the capacity is given. And finally, down there we have KenGen, commissioned operational PPAs currently dispatching power to the grid. They are 15 in number. And again, we have given recommendations to renegotiate PPA for Moroni and Olkaria 1, the rehabilitated power plants, and to renegotiate tariffs and terms based on guidelines given. The other appendix that follows immediately after that is Appendix 2, which are the details of the PPAs and the status. I don't know, Chair, whether you would want me to go through this.
I first want you to respond on the total capacity for the operational ones. Why have you skipped the total capacity, which is really the important part?
I had indicated that, but the figure is the operational PPAs, which are 21 in number, Chair. The capacity is 1,312 megawatts.
1,312
megawatts. The number one, the first one on the list.
I'm talking about KenGen.
Oh, KenGen.
Yeah.
Chair, the KenGen is listed there as number I. There are those that are commissioned and operational, and they are 15.
Correct.
Sorry, we have not indicated the capacity.
You have the figure.
Johnny Hill there in the house. You have the figure for that.
Chair, I'll ask David Muthike, who is my counterpart at KenGen, to give the number. It's about 17 or 200 megawatts.
How many?
Chair, I've just confirmed from the MD KenGen, it is a capacity of 1,904 megawatts for KenGen. So,
you know, it's a bit confusing. So what is this 1312?
Chair, 1312 is the IPPs.
Okay, so the IPPs alone, the 1312, then KenGen 18.
19.
Proceed, please.
Thank you, Chair. The next appendix that I wanted to take members through is the commissioned operational PPAs, the details. I don't know whether, Chair, you would want me to
just
go through this long list.
Just scan through.
There is the Uganda, which is listed there as number one. The term is 3 years, and the end date is June 2021. That is when the operational date was. The end date was June 2021. There is Ethiopia, which is 200 megawatts. The term is 20 years. It's a take-or pay. Started in November 2022, and the end date is 2042. And the currency is USD. We also have Alten Solar. We We have Immenity, Vika Power. Chair, you just allow me maybe to mention the names. The details are indicated. And you go through down the list. On the second page, we have Power 4. And in the last page, down there, we have the solars, Malindi Solar, Selenkei, and Sedate. All of them are having a capacity of 40 megawatts. The term is 20 years. They are also take or pay. And the end dates are indicated, 2042, 2041, and 2041 for the last one. And the mode of procurement is FIT. The signed PPAs under construction, again, we have given a list on the next page, starting with the Kwale International Sugar Limited, Anan Solar. Next page, we have Chania. The next page, we are giving the signed under construction or construction complete, but PPA lapsed. And maybe you can allow me to go through these ones. The total capacity is 13.04 megawatts. The first one is Chania Power. Capacity 0.5 megawatts. This is in Moranga. It's currently operational but no payments. It's a term of 20 and the end date should be 2037. Okay. So thank you, CS. If I may go through the second one, which is KTDA, Mutumi North, Mathioya. The technology is hydro. Capacity is 3.6 megawatts. Location again is in Moranga. It is currently operational, but no payments due to PPA in default. We have the PPA status 25th January 2023 default, and it is not the FCOD is not achieved. The term is 20 years. It's a take and pay, and the end date is December 2040. And it is denominated in USD, and it's an FIT, method of procurement. I think you can also see the last one there. We have Clean Energy Limited. The details are given. The next page is those ones that are signed, construction ongoing, but PPA is in default, failure to construct and commission the plant within the required timelines. And the capacity is 4.4 megawatts. There are 5 in number. Just give the details of the first one, which is KTDA Limited, Nyambunde. It is located in Kisi. Target effective date was 31st August 2017. The COD was in June 2021. And the timelines were up to 31st December 2022. The status as at 25th of January 2023, the PPA had lapsed, and the interconnections, construction works were ongoing. They were at 96% complete. And in a letter dated 30th June 2021, KTDA had proposed an RF COD of 31st October 2021, which is now passed. Term was 20. It was a take and pay, and the expiry date was June 4, 2041, and the tariff is given there in USD 0.0938 USD per kilowatt hour, and it is an FIT policy. If I proceed to the next lot, which is signed effective PPAs, not constructed, no construction, there are 3. I'll give the details of one. Maybe the first one, which is Quantum Menengai Limited. It's geothermal, 35 megawatts, which is in Nakuru. Effective date was 1st March 2018. The COD was January 2022. IPRA has extended required full commercial operation date to 17th January 2022, and the LCPDP of 30th June 2024. The status is given there. The term is 25 years, payment structure take or pay, and expiry date is January 2047. Again, the tariff is in USD 0.04. And we have given the mode of procurement, the details. The next one is PPA signed, not effective. and the CPs are not certified and satisfied. I'll give the details of one. Aperture Green Limited. Technology is wind. Location is Kiambu. Target effective date is 29 May 2021. Expected COD December 2022. And the timelines 31st December 2033. And the PPA, as of January this year, the PPA amended and signed, received EPP unit approval, submitted the application for GOK LOS to KPLC for progressing to government. The tariff is in USD 0.07 per kilowatt hour. Chair, the next lot, G, is PPA signed, not effective. They have lapsed on effectiveness and
I suggest, since you are reading what we have,
yes,
to move to I, which is the operational ones.
Thank you, Chair. I is Kengen PPS, Commission Operational PPS, currently dispatching power to the grid. And maybe we can just go through Muhoroni GT. It's only one plant. The technology is thermal. Capacity is 56 megawatts. Installed capacity 60 megawatts. The term is 2 years. Take or pay. COD is April 2021. Expiry is 2023. That is April this year. The mode of procurement is given there in details. But it's good to mention that the PPA expired on 30th of April 2023, and the parties are already negotiating on a new PPA for 2 years. Olkaria 1, geothermal, 30 megawatts, capacity is 44 years. Take and pay, and the details of mode of procurement, just to mention that PPA expired in end of February this year. The parties are already negotiating on a new PPA on the rehabilitated plants. And I don't know whether, Chair, you want me to go through all of them, but they are listed there with all the details.
We have to.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go to the next item.
The next item.
Chair, allow me to basically make a very simple one intervention to basically say of all those 9 categories of PPS starting from A to I. There are 9 of them, and the details thereof that have been given in the various schedules, indicating the kind of technology, the contract, the location, the term, the start date. You will want to note, Chair, that the planning of power is quite intricate. The planning alone can take as long as 3 to 4 years. To signing of a PPA, dispatching, building and dispatching of the grid can take another 3 to 4, 5 years. So you will therefore note that what we are discussing today are PPAs that were signed. There are no PPAs signed every day. PPAs which were signed pre-2017, 2016 for dispatch in 2023, 24, 25. So what we are planning today is power for 28, 29, 2028, 29, 2030. And it is very important that for the moratorium period where there was embargo against negotiation, signing of any documents, including at the Treasury or even giving legal opinion from the Attorney General office, when we retire, I would invite the members to study these reports and appreciate that if we don't work in consonance, there's likely to be an impact on the basis of the moratorium in 2027-28 when there's been no adequate planning because of the challenges that ensued. And therefore, as we work together to try and bring the cost of power, we should be cognizant of the roadmap that we do not impact on power provisioning for the future generations because of what we do or what we don't do today. And finally, as you look at some of the PPAs, let's prepare to ask questions like, when we have signed a PPA and it has lapsed, or the conditions precedents have not been fulfilled, can that be set up against government to the extent that if a letter of support was issued? Is it something that the government could be sued and run us into a problem? I think we need to really prepare to understand and ask those kind of questions. What does it mean when conditions precedents have not been fulfilled, or when a moratorium was put in place and the PPA lapsed? A PPA which was signed lapsed on the hands of the IPP. What is the way forward so that we do not run the government into a situation? It's just pricking serious questions that we would like to understand, or you to ask us, so that we can walk the journey together. Thank you.
Chair.
You know, Waziri, the best of my knowledge, the moratorium is on those that have not been signed. So if there are those that had been signed, they do not fall under that category. However, we will we'll make a discussion around that. I want us to make progress because time is moving very, very fast. I don't know.
Chair.
Yes, please.
I was just thinking, Chair.
Yes.
I think we are progressing well. But logically, if I look at the presentation from Engineer Jenga, is a conversation that members of parliament should have with you. You see, we are live, Kenyans are watching. Kenyans are asking, as a committee and as the ministry, how are we reducing the cost of power? So I would have expected some summary that we have 21 PPAs which have been signed, and these are the ones willing to renegotiate and reduce at this cost, so that then Kenyans would appreciate what we are doing. I would appreciate engineer telling us that previously we were buying tokens. If you bought for 1,000 shillings, you get 49 units. And now, if you buy for 1,000, you are getting 29 units. What are we doing so that we resonate with Kenyans?
All right, thank you. Mheshimiwa, it's a good question. But if I would want to request that we hold just a little, because I think the way you make your presentation is based on the way also we framed our questions. Just hold Chonga a minute. It's the way we have structured our questions. But notwithstanding, then we need enough time so that we can interrogate the information you have given us. You need to make progress with your presentations. Through this presentation, you've touched on 1. You've also touched part of 2. We are still number 3. We still not touched on the economic merit order of energy dispatch. The other presenter must move first, because we already have the documents. You just scan through. I think the most important part is the question answer section. However, as you consult, I must commend you for you have done a good job today. I have never seen you present in a detailed document before, as detailed as this one. So we might not have enough time to consume it immediately. We will retreat to look at it in detail, but I think the document is good enough. So,
thanks, Chair. I just wanted us to appreciate how we have done the presentation.
Yes.
So that when you go to the appendixes, you'll be able to understand them. And perhaps just to make it faster, I just pick one and take us through only one item, then you'll understand it.
No, I think you've done okay, only that you need to move a little faster.
Oh.
So if we can go to the next one, if you are the one now handling the issue of the merit of order of energy dispatch, and so that now we can go to April to explain to us the formula.
Thank you, Chair. Just allow me to make a statement on this Annex 1B. Annex 1B,
Okay.
which is headlined existing PPAs by technology and respective costing. I think this is important for the member, you chair and the members. And you see that table there has given the PPA, all the PPAs, the 41 of them, and the technology is indicated. For example, the first lot is a geothermal. We have contracted capacity, the COD, DCD, and OPS dates, the expiry date, and of importance perhaps is to look at the cost in USD of these specific PPAs, which is indicated on the last two columns. The total cost per kilowatt hour, the actual PPA currency, and then, of course, in USD per kilowatt hour, the equivalent.
Let me understand that column, last column,
Yes.
The total cost.
Yes.
Is the total computation inclusive of fuel and all that, or what is it? What is that cost per kilowatt hour?
It is, if you look, there is it is an addition of column A, B, and C, and you'll notice that column C also includes fuel, steam costs per kilowatt hour. So it is inclusive.
Okay.
Yes. So maybe allow me to go to the next one, which is Annex 1C, and this is just giving the details of the CR troughs. That is the ownership of the various businesses, the company detail. For example, the first one there. Is Rumuruti Solar Generation Limited, and it gives the names of the directors as you had requested, and the shareholding, and the addresses are provided, and all the details are given for all the PPAs as per the attachment.
You will need to do more on this. You see, if you look at the first one, Rumuruti Solar Generation Limited, the first shareholder is EOS Holdings Group Limited, who is not a person. And one thing we've seen in the trend with most of the PPAs is that there is always a company. And in many cases, that company has lots of shares. Like now, look at this Rumuruti. EOS Holdings has ordinary shares, 10,000. The rest you have listed have nil. The ones with the names. The one without names have everything. So now, how do we know EOS Holdings Group Limited is? Because you see the essence of this document is so that we can establish conflict of interest. So it is really difficult to deal with a company as a shareholder. Where a company appears as a shareholder, we will require you to give us additional information by getting that the directorship of that particular shareholder. And if that company then, the directors end up with another company as a director, and then you dig until you get to the last person. That is very, very important.
Well guided, Chair. Well guided.
Let us proceed.
The next one is Annex 2, which is again headlined installed generation capacity for the last 5 years, as you had asked. And we have provided all those details. Capacity as at 30th June 2023. And we have given details for 2022, 2021, 2020, and finally 2019. So you see all the details for the installed capacity and the effective capacity as a particular date of the year. The next chair is projected medium-term generation capacity, and this gives the details of the year considered for system integration. It gives the plant name and the type, and we have solar, we have import, we have hydro, we have cogeneration, geothermal, and all of them are listed there, the capacity, and the farm capacity, the peak load, and the required reserve, and the available reserve. So that detail is provided in that part B of that report. Is on the KPLC merit order, and we have provided the details for the various periods. We have the one for May, we have the one for June, July, and all the way to the last one. But maybe just to pick on one and give the details. The first one on that list is the Lake Turkana, and the details are the variable energy costs for Lake Turkana is 0, the fuel cost is 0, so this is wind capacity or deemed cost converted to energy at the load factor, and that is in Kenya shillings per kilowatt hour. The forex adjustment charges, the total generation costs, that is adding up those 4 other items, and the total variable costs, which is the summation of A and B, and the merit order based on variable costs. And in this case, Lake Turkana is on merit number 1, merit order number 1. But there's a comment there which is talking about the mass. This is a mass run. This due to the deemed generation energy obligations to KPLC in this regime. It means therefore that we must run these power plants, the Kipeto, Selenke, Sedate, and Malindi. Then the cost is listed down up to the last one on the list. The most expensive is Horon GT. That is at the bottom of, and we have provided additional information. And this is all the way to May 2023. That is this year. So you'll get all that information in that appendix. The next one, Chair and members, Annex 3B, is the energy purchased for the various financial years. We have the financial year 2022-23, and we have given the details of what KenGen, month by month, what we have been able to procure from them.
Just a minute. There seems also to be some missing information. I was hoping it would be on Annex 3B. You are focused on the money, but not on the power for which the money was paid. You needed to have a column for the total kilowatt hours that were purchased against the amount of money that you paid. So we need you to later provide us with an annex that has that additional column.
Well guided, Chair. We will provide that information. You may allow, I can proceed on to Annex 3C. Annex 3C is on power system dispatch versus actual for the year 2022-2023. And we have given for July, for August onwards, megawatts hours, the actual that was actually received, and the percentage deviation. And the deviation on the dispatch is indicated. That we got 233, and that was because there was high wind output, which is energy dependent. Geothermal dispatched was 534, the actual was 519, a variance of minus 2.8%. And on the average there, you see that the total average is minus 1.5, which is within dispatch.
Can you comment on this variation?
GT Mohoroni.
What is this variation?
This is the variation between what is expected and what is the actual. There is always, we are given an allowance of 3% to operate within 3%, either less or more. So if you agreed with your organization to give us so many units, you can give us plus or minus 3%. But
okay, so when you say for geothermal dispatched was 534 and actual was 519, can you explain these two items? So what was this 519 and what was this 534?
Johnny, hope you can make a clarification on Chair in this particular regard. Though it is indicated that it is implemented, we are not, KPLC is not contracted by REREC. What we have currently is an MOU on how we implement the projects, and we are reimbursed. If you look at the last one, number 7, revise performance contract to incorporate recommendations of the task force, and the performance contracts from 2022, this has already been incorporated. The next lot is policy and legal subcommittee. The first one was the revised standard power purchase agreements in line with proposed amended clauses, and this was revised, and the implementation is in progress. So all the way to down the list of all the recommendations that were done by the task force, and we have indicated the status as at the current. That gives you the detail of the report, Chairman. Thank you.
This file you've given us, most of these agreements I've seen is for the fuel supply. Did you attach the PPS?
No, Chair.
But it was part of the documents that we required, so we will need you to submit.
We'll make arrangements.
They're in this document. Which page? Yes. Okay, let them then be provided as part of one document.
What does that mean? They are not in the file, but they've been provided. Where are they? They have not been provided. If you,
my understanding is that you have the documents and you are about to submit them.
Yes, Chair.
You have them here.
No, not here. We put a link. I think the only question I wanted to get clarity.
Yes.
Is of course we up to the cutoff where we have operational PPAs, both Kenyan and IPPs.
Yeah, you can give us the operational ones.
The operational ones.
How long will you take to submit?
We have cancelled.
We can avail today. We can avail today.
Chair.
Okay.
Chair. Can we get all so that we can see the ones that just expired 2 years ago, 1 year ago? How what was the cost of electricity from those sources, and if they can be revived? So let's get all, not just the ones that are operational. Let's get all, Chair, please.
All right.
And then the other point, second point,
okay.
He has provided 3 documents here for only 3 companies. Why not provide the contracts for all the others? You only provided Thika and 2 others. Can we get the additional contracts, please? There are only 21 contracts, so he can provide the additional 18s, please.
Or you can access that information?
Chair, allow us to bring them on Friday.
Which one in particular? All the documents?
All the documents.
Okay.
Chair, to clarify for Shimua's question, is that for the thermal plants where we have provided 3 FSAs, we will give the balance of the FSAs of thermal plants, but they are not 21.
Okay.
They are lower.
We are talking about IPPs.
No, okay.
I was talking about IPPs. We have 21 IPPs as per your record. Can we get the contract for the 21?
Let me guide you.
Thank you.
The contracts you're seeing here for the fuel may not be necessarily the IPPs themselves. So we will, for the PPS, you can get from all the PPS, for all the IPPs. For the fuel, you can get us as many as they are contracts with different companies. Yes, Mheshimiwa Chonga. We can't hear you. Yes, I can hear you. You can, do you mind waiting because we have one more presentation, then we take all the questions?
Okay, fine.
Please. Okay, so Waziri, the other important part that I would want your team to look at is the element of the pricing, and maybe you can guide your team on that.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Engineer Njenga, for making that presentation. I think Imelda Bora, the Company Secretary for Kenya Power, has undertaken to provide all the PPAs. The structure of a PPA is not a 2-page agreement, Chair, so as requested, allow them to make the several copies for members of this committee. They'll be fairly voluminous. If you think about the structure of one PPA and therefore the structure of the 21 PPAs being compiled for every member, we'll possibly be giving every member of parliament some 6, 7, 10 cartons of the PPAs. And then maybe it's more of logistical preparation as opposed to really not being able to provide them this morning. So we'll prepare them and package them properly so that you can deliver by, you said by Friday? By Friday.
I don't know, members, would you want like copies for every member, or we need documents for our own consumption? We can just have a maximum of 2 copies for each of the PPAs, not for all the members. We can share those documents, because we only require all of them when we have an ongoing session, which is now overtaken by event.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to make a clarification on the pricing policy and the foreign exchange fluctuation, and thereafter one more clarification on the relationship between REREC and KPLC on how the billing is done and how KPLC is supposed to be compensated. So, Wanambogwa, you'll do that, and EPRA, can you help us on the pricing policy and how we deal with the foreign exchange fluctuation at a policy level before it is implemented by Kenya Power on the billing system? You can go first.
Chairman, just before I forget, there's this Ngumi task force. The schedule has been attached. I think we spoke to point number 2 before the implementation in the last parliament. You remember you're the one actually who raised it.
Yeah.
That what is here to mitigate costs, assure quality, REREC should contract out the implementation of rural electricity program to KPLC. I think we all agreed that it was not possible because our experience with REREC, at that level, that REREC was more efficient as compared to the heavy load that KPLC, the burden that KPLC has. So to reduce the load, we thought that our recommendation as a committee did override the recommendation of the John Ngumi-led commission.
Thank you. And it also raises a bit of questions on the accuracy of this annex, because the status is that this was implemented in February 2023. Was it really implemented? By who? Where?
Chair, sorry, Chair. I think I had mentioned,
Yes.
I clarified that this information is not accurate.
Yeah, it is not accurate.
That was not implemented.
All right, let us say...
So why, if the information, if the paperwork if the information in this paper is not accurate, why present it? Why bring inaccurate information?
So you will need
Chair.
to correct...
Yes.
Please, okay.
Chair, just
You will,
allow us to
I will
correct.
assume it was some error.
Yeah, it was an omission on our part.
The famous error. So
Ngumi error.
we will, as you present the other documents, then let the correct annex also be presented, because I've also seen also other issues in the annex which don't add up. Yes, please.
Chair, for record, I think also we raised an issue on the owners, the stakeholders, or the owners of Kenya Power, who are wanted to make some profit by actually taking contracts to REREC. And by that, in the Theolo Parliament, we refused it because we saw a hand by either people who has an interest in Kenya Power trying to snatch some jobs from Kenya Power, REREC, just to make profit. And it should go to record that we refused it, and I think that's our stand. Thank you.
Chairman, just one point.
Yes, please.
As we get the report back, I want Engineer Jenga, if you look at the pages when you're presenting data on money issues, is very not legible as compared to other pages. Why don't you use the same font? It's easier for all of us.
All right, so it is for obvious reasons that the page could not fit the figures if they were larger. They're too large to fit.
Point noted, the Chair, we shall endeavor to make them more legible, even if it means having a bigger sheet of paper.
So I have only 5 minutes for April to explain these discrepancies in the formula, so that we members have so many questions around this, and which cannot be really presented. There are things that we have to discuss, we have to seek answers. So you have 5 minutes to.
Thank you, Chair, honorable members. We have circulated a pack which we will go through. John, could you provide copies to the CS and PS?
Can pass the document to other members. You have this document, members. Please, okay, proceed.
Thank you, Chair. And with your guidance on time, I will not repeat what the CS has captured at policy level and what our utility Kenya Power has captured. I will go through our 34-page presentation rather quickly. On the first page, which is our mandate, I will not go through the detail. We are empowered through the power that we've been given through this House to regulate the electricity subsector in this country. Section 11C allows us to set, review, and adjust electric power tariffs, whether a specific application has been made or not. Chair and honorable members, I will skip page number 2, which are the questions that were put to us by this honorable committee, and I'll skip page number 3 as well, and move on to page number 4, which the details of the power purchase agreements, which our licensee Kenya Power has been able to present. Chair and honorable members, the only thing I will add is the Act at Section 163 actually provides us with a legal mandate to review every agreement for the sale of electrical energy before it then comes into force. Once Kenya Power and an IPP or KenGen negotiate a PPA, that agreement is submitted to us in accordance with the section I have just mentioned for review and approval prior to effectiveness. I will not go through page number 4, Chair, in terms of the PPAs that have been signed up. And the report, we do have a repository as well as the regulator on these PPAs. And I believe this information is similar to what has been submitted previously by the utility. Chair and honorable members, allow me then to move on to page number 5. And this is the details on the question on the installed capacity. What is effective capacity over the last 5 years? We have indicated at table number 2 what is the installed capacity in the financial year 2017-2018 at 2351 megawatts, and where we are at the end of the financial year 2021-2022 at 3081 megawatts. What is contracted is not exactly the same as what is installed. It is slightly lower, and you can see in the financial year 27-2018 we have contracted capacity of 2,278 megawatts. And at the end of the financial year 21-22, you have 2,926 kilowatts. Chair and honorable members, the point at number 8 is on the Least Cost Power Development Plan, which is a plan under the purview of the Cabinet Secretary following the enactment of the Energy Act 2019. We do have a projection in terms of growth, which we intend to grow from 2,919 megawatts in 2021 to 3,765 megawatts in 2026, and we will then reach 8,205 megawatts by 2041 under the reference case scenario that has been indicated in table number 3.
Chair, I think for purposes of consistency, it's important that the figures are consistent with what you say. The CS said that KenGen has 1,900 in terms of generation. And the companies that we have contracted to supply, the private utilities, is 1,300. I'm trying to look for that 32. I can't see it. 3,200 megawatts. I can't see it.
We could be able to provide a breakdown. We do have a repository, as I've said, Chair, in terms of the number of PPAs that have currently been signed, KenGen and IPPs from our record as the regulator. And we're not in contradiction with the policymaker on this particular matter, but we do have the record and we'll be able to provide of every PPA that we've approved as a regulator.
Did you really answer the question? Because you see,
Yes, Chair.
in this document, you have provided us with. Thank God it's not another day, because it's still the same day. The file has 1,300 and 1,900. That's how much? 1,300 plus 1904. That says 32 what? 3204, approximately. So this other one, how much is it?
It's actually 3216 because it is 1904. That is from KenGen plus 13 at the top there. Number 1, 1312.777. So that adds up to.
I will ask the PSC seems to have an answer for the 200 megawatts missing.
Chair, thank you very much. If you look at page number 5,
of which document?
On this document.
Yes.
Page number 5, then you look at 2022.
His document or the main?
His document, this one.
Okay.
Yes. And you look at page number 5 of that form.
Yes.
You'll see that 2024 we are talking of installed system capacity of 3042.
Where?
The second, number 8 on least cost. Then go to the table below.
Page
5 of that.
3042. Yes.
Table 2 on page 5. Yeah.
We can see it.
Table 3. Generation expansion reference demand scenario.
Yes.
You will note that 2022 we are talking of 3042. But in January we received 200 megawatts from Ethiopia. and that makes 3242. That
How many megawatts you received?
200 from Ethiopia. Became effective January.
So why is this document not updated?
No, but if you look at the document now, 2023, we are talking of 3284. Remember that 5 megawatts have come on board from Socian and other. That's
I get what you're saying.
yes. So
like bullet number 7
yes.
has a missing year.
Bullet.
Because that's 2021 stroke 2022. There is 2022 stroke 2023, which now is updated down there.
Yes.
It makes sense.
Thank you.
Proceed, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, PS. I will move on to the next question, which is a question on the economic merit order. And this has been presented by KPLC Chair. I will not go through the table at page number 6, which is the merit order of dispatch. Maybe just to highlight the last column to the right. What you have highlighted in the blue is the must run due to the deemed written energy obligations in this regime, and this number 1 in the merit order of dispatch. Then you have the other ranking of power plants which DG is not applicable in that particular table. It then spills over, Chair and honorable members, to page number 7. At the bottom of page number 7, Chair, we just wanted to state, as a regulator, we do monitor on a daily basis the operation and dispatch analysis. Our counterpart from the utility KPLC has provided an annex with a daily dispatch report. We have, Chair and honorable members, at page number 8, indicated a sample of our daily dispatch and analysis report, which is similar to what KPLC provides, because we do get the raw data from the utility Kenya Power. And this is a report or a representation of the 7th of July 2023. What was the projection of dispatch at NCC, as had been highlighted by KPLC previously? What is the actual generation? What is the dispatch of deviation? And what each technology then contributed to the generation mix? And then the remarks. We also capture in this report, Chair, what is in the 3 bullets below the table. What are the percentage deviations from what was projected and what was actually generated and dispatched. We also capture what is the peak demand for the country as at the 7th of July 2023, and what is also the gross energy demand. We also capture the system peak demand, which was last recorded on the 14th of December 2022 at 2,149 megawatts, and the gross energy demand at 39,584.60 megawatt hours, which was recorded on the 7th of July 2023. This is at page 8, Chair. At the bottom of page 8, there are 3 bullets. Chair, the last point that we did want to make as a regulator at the bottom of that page is that May 2023, the month of May 2023, geothermal generation accounted to 45.21% of our mix, hydro accounted to 21.05% of our mix, thermal accounted to 8.44% of our mix, wind accounted to 16.08% of our mix, solar accounted to 3.92% of our mix, and we'd have imports accounting to 5.29% of our mix. Chair, this energy mix, 90% was from renewable energy sources, Chair. Chair, with your permission, moving on to page number 9. At the top of page number 9, figure 1 is just a graphical representation of our energy mix from the month of June 2022 to end of May. And this is a graphical presentation. I will, Chair, with your permission, in the interest of time, move on to the substance of the matter that you put before us, which are the components that make up the consumption charge and how this is computed. Chair, honorable members, from the 1st of April 2023, we do have applicable new charge rates. And Chair, you had actually mentioned in your opening remarks the issue around how we have arrived at the tariffs and whether there has been public participation. I wish to confirm to you, Chair, and this honorable House, that we did go through a very rigorous tariff review process, which commenced with Kenya Power submitting the application to us in the month of October 2022. We went through an internal review process. We did conduct countrywide public participation and eventually gazetted the applicable tariffs for a 3-year tariff control period from the 1st of April 2023.
When did that happen?
This happened at the end of March, and the applicable...
This year?
Yes, 2023.
And you said you conducted a comprehensive
public participation.
And the committee is not aware. Yeah. Which is now the representative of people.
Chair, we did conduct public participation. We did engage.
Maybe you can finish. We'll get to that.
Allow him to finish the question?
Yes, please.
So the statement? No, you are saying that you did conduct public participation, you contacted, and then you interrupted.
Yes, Chair, we did conduct public participation. We did engage with the public in line with the provisions of the Constitution. We had public participation forums across the country, which we did engage stakeholders in the energy sector. I believe the specific question is whether the Energy Committee was involved in that process.
I think we need to be a bit serious with this particular matter. So you decide, for instance, that you are going to move the allowable losses for Kenya Power from you moved it from, was it 16 or 18? You go all the way to 20-something%, and then say that this money is going to be paid when Kenya Power makes losses. The consumers are going to pay. And now the public told you that was okay when you were doing public participation.
Chair.
Because you would want to know when and who told you it was okay. Which forums,
Chair.
where were they? Yeah.
And if they could provide us the report of that public participation so that we see the view that were raised by Kenyans.
Chair, I would also want to ask the DG maybe about the public participation. How did you go about it? Was it by constituency or county, one forum per county or one forum per constituency? And if there are those records, we would like even to know just the constituencies represented by members in here where those public participation forums happened.
You will need to respond to those, and you will need to try to be as factual as possible. Where you don't have information, say you don't have information, because you know you can put yourself in a lot of trouble. And moving forward, I think this was resolved in the last meeting that this kind of exercise needs to be on oath, under oath, because we have to hold you accountable to the information that you are going to give us. So I find it very interesting that you are telling us that the Kenyans allowed you to increase allowable losses for Kenya Power by a huge percentage. I don't know who else has that kind of. We've looked at the international standards, and no one enjoys this kind of a thing where you make losses and you're given a huge percentage of allowable margin. You're saying that you conducted public participation. People allowed you to do that. I am the chairman of the Energy Committee. I am not aware of those public participations. None of my members are aware. The constituencies we come from, we are not aware. We can members can you can find out.
Just one additional comment.
We know which are these constituencies
on
where
that point.
You did these public participations and were given, because we will not allow you, EPRA, to make baseless adjustments on pricing structure that affects Kenyans in the name of some complicated formula that I have seen in this document. We just have to be sensitive to Kenyans and do the right thing.
Chair, I think you're right. You're on the right path. I think what is important, there must be evidence, a verifiable document with a newspaper that's reporting this public participation in Kisumu. Because I doubt whether Kenyans would agree even to increase the cost of power by 2 shillings.
Chair, he said that he conducted public participation and involved the stakeholders within the power, within the sector. Are we, the members of this committee, not important stakeholders in this exercise or in the energy sector? This committee is irrelevant in the energy sector. That's what you are just saying.
Chair.
It was burning, so we had to allow, so you can burn, you can cool.
Allow him.
Chonga, you can proceed. We were cooling. Yes, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Now, the first question I would like to go back to the arrangement.
Not now, please. Not now, because we will distort the current discussion. It's around pricing by EPRA. Would you then maybe first put a question on that?
You mean with respect to the issue of EPRA
On the pricing?
on the pricing? Okay. Thank you, Chair. I think I'm guided.
Yes, please.
One thing that is really upsetting me, and I'm getting upset actually, is for the CEO of EPRA to understand that there is a committee of women which is actually responsible to answer all the relevant questions that we have within and without parliament.
Correct.
And has the audacity to sit in such a meeting and lie to the committee that he did public participation that was not realized anywhere. Yeah, I think this is an appeal for you to give a warning. We could not be taken that lightly. We could not be taken so cheap for granted as that. So, I think it's not one to one. He must be given warning about his aggressive behavior without being ignorant to the community on the way he actually administers things. The other day, we saw him now raising the prices of fuel, yet there was a court order stopping the finance from being enacted fast. So who did he consult before he went ahead to increase the price? Was the community aware of that matter? Then he know who are to be affected for more than his statement. This is a key here. Keep me clarified.
Thank you, Chonga. I can see you are equally hot. So now, I will just put a direct question.
Chair, may I put on something on top of Honorable
Yes.
Chonga, please? Honorable Chair, the little I know of public participation is that there are minutes which are taken, and there are also participants. Can we, because now it is official, can they bring the minutes of those public participations and the participants? Because that time we can know where they were performed. Thank you, Chair.
Right, Vice Chair.
Chair, thanks. My question just was, does the DG, Bonakipto, means, what do you mean by public participation? Is it for the public or your clients, like Kenya Power? Those are the people probably have done public participation with the utilities that that are under you, or actually you're doing Kenya Power, REREC, and or Kenya. Who are these people that you're doing public participation? Are they Kenyans, or I just want to understand.
Right, now, we need to make progress. First of all, you will provide us with the approved report of this particular public participation. Then number two, before you proceed, you will explain to us why you felt that Parliament was not an important stakeholder on matters relating to arbitrary increase of pricing that affects Kenyans. Why you felt it was not important to consult Parliament, in particular the committee. Because I think the route we are taking now, you would want to hold Kenyans hostage, in which case we might be the first ones to hold you hostage, because I think in the wisdom of this committee, we might in future be considering approval by Parliament of those rates, some of those rates we're imposing on Kenyans before they can be gazetted anywhere. Because we have to protect Kenyans. Now we don't know what happens. You wake up tomorrow, you had a meeting last night with Kenya Power, you decide to increase 1% of margin on allowable losses, for instance. You decide forex currency needs to be adjusted by 100%, even if there is no equivalent increase, then who is supposed then to protect Kenyans? The mandate that has been given to EPRA is not absolute. It's not veto power. It needs to be exercised with caution so that we don't make decisions that are to the wisdom of your organization. Maybe it's going to aid one or to assist an organization. But at the same time, it's also killing Kenyans. So maybe you will tell us why you did not consult Parliament, why we were not a stakeholder. Then you will provide us with that report. Then I will give you an extra 3 minutes so that you can summarize, especially around the considerations that you make when you're doing this kind of pricing.
Chairman, we have asked many questions. Can he be given an opportunity?
No, why I'm saying that is because I want him to
answer the questions.
Have 3 minutes to conclude so that now we can get into the questions without any other presentation.
We have asked questions.
Yes.
Can he answer to those questions, please?
And I am saying that you will do your 3 minutes to complete your presentation. Then we'll handle questions. We'll start with those questions. You understand? You can take some 3 minutes. You finish your presentation. Then now you start answering questions by the questions raised by the members before we can go to the other stakeholders.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, before Kipto responds, yes. I want to basically check the time intervention, particularly for the CEO for Ketraco, who is hosting the president in Earth River Substation for this afternoon. And we need to release him. And yet there are some interventions on the transmission network that will reduce the cost of power. But because of time, I don't know, just an issue of managing.
Yes, so Waziri, this is what I would propose. It is not going to be possible to have a rushed presentation by Ketraco because, again, they are also key stakeholders on this particular matter. So we can allow the CEO to proceed to make those preparations, and then we conclude with the questions around the presentations that have been done at a point when now then you are required on the other side. If by then we'll be satisfied that we have exhausted, then well and good, we close the chapter. If there will be a requirement for us to have another sitting, then we will organize for another sitting. So, Kipto, can you take 3 minutes, finish that presentation of yours, then get to answering these questions, because I know once we start the questions, we will never get to finish.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Mativo, you are released. Are you in the House? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. You have guided that I conclude the presentation, and we'll then go through the issues. On the specific question, Chair, that has been asked on the stakeholder engagement, because I am still on the issue of the computation of the tariff and the tariff review process that we undertook between October and April this year. Chair, you've already guided. We will provide the record of stakeholder engagement, the notices that were put out, the invites that were given. And Chair, I do wish to confirm that we do respect this Honorable House. We are given a body-given mandate by this Honorable House. We are guided by the principles set out in our Constitution and also the Energy Act 2019, which this House has given mandate to us as a regulator. With specific respect to the tariff, we do have a mandate within the Energy Act, which this House promulgated, to ensure that the tariffs are proved just and reasonable. We do balance the interests of Kenyans, who are the consumers, they balance the interests of the government. These are the three arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and we respect the judiciary, and as well as ensure that the interests of investors are actually taken care of, and they do get a reasonable return for the risks that they have assumed, and this is provided for within the law that has been passed by this House. We do respect this committee and this House, and we will continue to engage with you and to be able to invite you as a representative of the people in public forums going forward. We will be able to answer to the question as to whether we did invite the committee, and whether if we did not invite the committee, I will need to check our records from what we'll provide to you. If we did not, we profusely apologize, and it's a lesson that we have taken going forward. But we are guided by the provisions of the Constitution. One of the questions that has been asked is what accounts to public participation. This is a well-settled matter. We will be able to address it, Chair, but I am guided. Going back to my presentation, Chair, we did have approved revenue requirements and yield, and this is at the bottom of page 9. I'm recognizing time. The issue of the loss factor, Chair, is captured in the second last row of that table. We did have an ask from Kenya Power with respect to the revenue requirements. We also had an ask from them in respect to the loss factor, and we did look at this and be able to adjust on the basis of what their revenue requirements are. Chair, if you allow me to jump, and I will take you to page number 20 of 34. And this is a question which you have asked, which is intertwined to this question, on whether we do prescribe standards on the benchmarks that KPLC should achieve through this tariff control period. As I said, we do balance the interest of investors, consumers, and the public as well. We did, in this tariff review that is applicable for the 3 years, set key performance indicators with respect to interruption, with respect to losses, with respect to efficiency when it comes to billing and productivity for the utility over this 3-year tariff control period. We did recognize that losses, and I did say, Chair, that we did set a target of Kenya Power for reduction of losses, and we've asked them to be able to reduce their losses from 19.50 in the financial year 2022-2023 to 18.50 in the financial year 2023-2024 to 17.50 in the financial year 2024-2025 and 16.50 in the financial year 2025-2026. Chair, we do recognize that reduction of these losses, and there are two components to the losses. There is the technical loss and there's the commercial loss. Part of the technical losses will require investment, such as what is being commissioned this afternoon, which will allow us then to reduce the technical losses. In the event that Kenya Power is not able to achieve these benchmarks, we do have regulatory interventions which we shall then apply to ensure that they feel the pain, as it were, on their bottom line, and also take other regulatory sanctions that are available to us within the law to ensure that these indices are actually adhered to. This is one of the issues, Chair, that we've been able to address. Chair and honorable members, I will then take you back to page number 11. We have, at page number 10, laid the basis of the three components that account to power costs in the country. One is the base energy charge rates, which we did gazette and have been applicable from the 1st of April. This is captured at page number 10. I will not go through it. Going on to page number 11, Chair, we do have the other two components, which are the pass-through costs, which account for fuel energy cost, the foreign exchange adjustments, FEFRA, the world levy, and the inflation adjustment, which is computed semi-annually but recovered monthly. The third component, or the third limb of the pricing, is the taxes and levies, VAT, which is charged at 16% on the demand charge, fuel energy cost, and non-energy fuel cost consumption, the rural electrification levy at 5%, and the regulatory levy at 3 Kenya cents per kilowatt hour. Chair, the question that was put to me was the structure of pricing and the disconnect, Chair, that you actually alluded to in your opening statement of how we compute FEFRA. We have captured this, having given the formula, but as you've guided, I will just speak to what the foreign exchange adjustments are and why they're actually applicable. If you look at page 14, it talks about the historical basis or background towards the foreign exchange adjustment, because most of the PPAs are foreign currency denominated, and these payments are actually in foreign currency. We do have a formula, Chair, and you've asked a question on a month where there was a high increase of foreign exchange adjustment. If we go to the formula at page 18, and I will just try to give the highlights, that formula just speaks to the foreign currency costs that are incurred by KenGen. You then add the foreign currency costs incurred by the company, other than those for power purchase, and the foreign exchange costs paid by the company to IPPs. When you speak, Chair, to the question around a particular month having a high foreign exchange adjustment, it is on account of the obligations that Kenya Power has. Kenya Power has a lot of covenants that are non-power purchase related, which they need to service, and when you get to a month where those obligations or covenants actually fall due, those requirements for hard currency then kick in. We then, as a regulator, then will then adjust and are obligated to then adjust the pricing as a pass-through in that particular month. Chair and honorable members, moving on to page number 13. We did, in this tariff review, which we concluded in March, rebase the CBK mean exchange rate, and this is what is captured in the basket of currencies that indicated in Table 8. So on a month-by-month basis, we look at what the base exchange rate during the start of the tariff control period was, And what you see in XT is the mean exchange rate for that particular month immediately preceding the billing month. So basically, Chair, in short, we do look at the number of units purchased. We then adjust for system losses. We then look at what the base rate of this tariff control period was, and we then adjust for the base rate in the month preceding the billing cycle. That, in a nutshell, is what that formula speaks to. Chair, moving on to page number 14, which is the fuel energy cost as computed in the monthly bills. We do calculate the fuel energy cost, which are passed through, which is respect to the fuel oil as Kenya Power has presented to the IPPs, to KenGen, and also to the isolated power plants that are operated by KPLC through the electrification program. When you look at the formula there, Chair, that formula speaks to all the number of units that have been generated from electric power producers. You then apply the number of units that have been produced, and you apply what is called a specific fuel consumption. At the time of negotiation of a PPA and our approval as the regulator, you look at a specific fuel consumption. This is the number of kilograms of fuel that are required to then produce one unit. And similarly, as you operate, you drive your own vehicles, these are engines. Those engines have a different fuel consumption. We then agree at that fuel consumption at the point of approval as the regulator, as negotiated, and we then adjust the fuel energy cost dependent on the fuel that has been consumed on the basis of the specific fuel consumption that is captured in the PPA and the number of units that have then been generated. And we adjust similarly. We then balance this against the avoided cost, and this is the fuel displacement costs from geothermal and also the other renewable energy resources to then end up with the fuel adjustment cost on a monthly basis. Chair, in the interest of time, I will then move on to page number 17. What is instructive to note, those two formulas are part of the schedule of the tariffs that we do gazette as the regulator. It is part of the application that comes from KPLC and is part of what we take through public participation. This formula is predictable, it is verifiable, and it is auditable. Chair and honorable members. With respect to HFO, which is your question number 7, we have been able to provide the monthly consumption of HFO by the thermal power plants. This is at page number 18. We do have, as at May of 2023, consumption of 22,895,000 metric tons of thermal power. Chair, what is instructive to note is there is a requirement to keep minimum stock levels of 4,500 metric tons in the fuel supply agreement. This is to ensure that there is security of supply. In the event we do have a shock or a breakdown of a generator, whether it is a geothermal generator or hydro generator, and we need to call on some of these power plants, we do require sufficient fuel supply stocks. And in the event that a generator is not able to maintain those fuel stocks, then there is a provision for DLDs, this is daily liquidated damages, on the part of the generator to pay the utility in the event that they don't meet those. Chair and honorable members, these specifications of these power plants vary from plant to plant, and we've been able to provide a sample of those specifications as well. Chair and honorable members, I am aware through the conversation that had been had with the previous administration with the Presidential Task Force on PPAs, and as well as the policymakers sitting here before us, to try and look at the interventions on standardization of this specification and probably bulk procurement that will provide for a reprieve or a respite in terms of pricing to consumers. Chair, moving on to page number 19 rather, and this is page number 8. This matter on VAT has been canvassed by the utility KPLC. We wish to confirm that VAT on pricing is charged on 16% at demand charge, fuel energy cost, and energy consumption charge as well. The question that Chair you had raised on the logic on whether there's a tax on tax, we wish to confirm to you there is no tax on tax. Fuel cost is exclusive of VAT. KPLC is actually a tax agent on behalf of Kenya Revenue Authority. We do bill on the basis of 16% VAT. HFO has been 16% VAT. It is only Moroni, which operates on kerosene, that has been on 8% VAT, Chair. With respect to the next question on the roadmap and the matrix of how we intend to introduce efficiencies to KPLC, Chair, as I said, we as the regulator in this tariff review, in cognizance of the need to have an efficient utility, we did set these benchmarks as previously highlighted. I will not go through them again. Chair, moving on to page number 21.
Chair. There's something I may forget. Last month, what was the percentile currency adjustment?
I can be able to highlight those numbers, Chair. On the fuel energy cost, what was approved in the month of June 2023 as a pass-through was 4.49 shillings per kilowatt hour. What we did then a pass-through to consumers in the month of July was 4 shillings and 2 cents. This is a reduction of 0.47 shillings per kilowatt hour. On the forex adjustment, in the month of June, we had 2.0599 shillings per kilowatt hour. This came down to 1.746601, and this was a reduction of 0.3133. On the Warma levy, we did have 0.13054 in the month of June, and this went up to 0.014621. This is an increase of 0.001567 shillings per kilowatt hour on account of increased hydro generation. On the inflation adjustment, we did have an inflation adjustment of 0.85 shillings per kilowatt hour in the month of June. This came down to 0.23% in the month of July. This is 0.62 shillings per kilowatt hour reduction. On overall, between the month of June 2023 and the month of July 2023 in the billing cycle, the pass-through costs actually reduced by 1 shilling, 1.40173 shillings per kilowatt hour. Chair,
you have 30 seconds.
Yes, Chair. On the last two items, the first item is on the viability of a policy of introducing local currency PPAs. As I said earlier on, Chair, that there is PPAs are largely denominated in hard currency during the financing structure, which is project financing, and the currencies that actually bring the financing on the debt side, particularly into these projects. The forex risk is borne by the consumers and not by the parties to the PPA. This is Kenya Power or the utility in this respect. Due to the fluctuations of the shilling against these hard currencies, we do set a base tariff as I've previously indicated, and any deviations is covered through the forex adjustment. We as the authority actually have gone through a process of undertaking a study, which we did to look at the viability of local currency PPAs and the viabilities of having PPAs in local currency. This, in our view as the regulator, should be a gradual and a hybrid approach, recognizing that most of the equipment that goes into power plant development, other than the civil works, are procured from outside the country and are procured in hard currency. In our view, we need to take a hybrid and gradual approach. We need to be able to deepen our financial markets, also engage our pension funds. A lot of the investors on the IPP space are pension funds from Scandinavia, for instance. One of the areas that we would be wishing as a regulator that we encourage yourselves as the leadership of the country is to encourage some of our pension funds and also our financial markets to be able to invest in the power space, and this will allow us then to have local currency PPAs. One of the outcomes of that study, Chair, was some of the power plants, particularly under FIT, as such a small hydro, could be some that could then be the start in terms of having a hybrid system where you have certain PPAs in local currency and others in foreign currency. Chair, you'd also appreciate that some of the issues around the currency is an issue which is a macro issue around country risk, which also needs to be addressed when we have actually an open and honest conversation on the PPAs. Chair, lastly, on our status as the regulator on the implementation of the task force review of PPAs, we as the authority have implemented most of the recommendations from that task force, and I will not go to the detail. The detail is highlighted here. We had 100% at most, save for 2 or 3, where we are at the late 80s or early 90s in terms of implementation. Chair, I submit.
All right. Honorable members, we cannot take another presentation. I think it will only be fair. We allow members to ask questions. And when you get to answer your questions, we'll start with the questions that had been asked previously by members. It's a bit interesting, especially from your presentations. I would require that you give us for the last 1 year, the fuel adjustment, foreign exchange adjustment, again, it's also the value of the dollar, because we've had other stakeholders who have appeared before us, and what we gathered is that this adjustment for the foreign currency is not in tandem with the actual change in dollar. So that you find that it has increased arbitrarily without an equal increase or depreciation of the Kenyan shilling against the dollar. Number two, when I look at your formula, every other thing suffers losses. Whether it is fuel, whether it's foreign currency adjustment, your formula is over 1 minus L, meaning that every other thing must suffer the losses that you are now allowing to increase. You've spoken to the issue of financing and why these power purchase agreements are in US dollars. I mean, why do you care? Why are you the one financing? Because when you say the financing is in US dollars, you are not the one financing. This is a person who wants to do business with us. And then now you're listening to them because the financing is in US dollars. Who stops them from taking loans from Kenyan banks? I think this is a conversation we also need to look at, because the way these PPAs are done, they appear like they are done by a person who sits in the ministry, who is also the financier of the projects that are going to be done. Because you care so much on the model of financing as if you are the ones to do the financing. Kenyans are building malls worth billions of shillings. When I look at some of these more thermal power plants, which are the menace, because the issue is not the bigger issue is not Kengen and the rest. The issue is a section of small thermal generators, which are not that expensive. You can't tell us we cannot afford those things. But extremely structured in a way to fleece. I mean, to take almost everything, because if you look at the data we have, it shows that some time back we paid 51% for the power, 75% of the power supplied by Kengen, against 49% of 25 supplied by IPPs, meaning that we paid almost the same for one source supplying us 25%, the other one supplying us 75%.
Yeah, we paid more.
I have done a small indicated, that is page 8, the daily system operation and dispatch analysis. I don't know, these megawatts, are they, the megawatt hours, are these annual or are they for what period of time? The thermal diesel, where you've indicated actual generation megawatt hours, was 2233. The daily.
This is daily, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Now, there is an interesting scenario we have seen. Maybe that can be taken by Waziri. The documents that we've looked at from the IPPs show that the total amount of money we have paid them, only 1% related to some generation. 99% of the money paid was capacity charge. Now, we put them to task to explain how they make money, and they agreed. They actually make money from capacity charge. So then we also went ahead to look at how much, because the explanation that is that the capacity charge pays for the investment. But we have also looked at this and realized that the total amount of money we have paid so far against their total investment, we are almost at some stages doubling, where when some of those power purchase agreements expire in 2034, yet we have already paid more than 1.5 of their total investment. So my question would be, why would you have an arrangement where 99% of the total money you are paying someone is for nothing, is for no generation at all? Question number 2, when we have looked at how much of this thermal power we need, we realize that we have about almost 23 or so % installed capacity as thermal generators. But when you look at the dispatch, we dispatch 14%, meaning that we are also paying capacity charge for idle megawatts that we don't need in the first place. So even if we were to pay capacity charge at the rate at which we are paying now, why would we want again also to pay beyond the much we require, so that in a place where we are only requiring thermal, at any given point in time we are switching on 50 megawatts? Why do you have 80 and paying capacity charge for 80 when at any given time you never require the 80? Because that data you have, and you know basically what I'm saying is really the truth. So unless we address this issue of the capacity charge, I think CS, this other story is not going to help us. This thing of fuel standardization, they are going to come in bits and pieces. They are going to add us some 1 or 2% relief. But the elephant in the house is some 50% of the totals that we are paying for some 300 megawatts that we never entirely use, majority of which is stored somewhere idle, but we are paying. Number, as I conclude, so that I can give the other members also to ventilate, is that this issue of the expiring contracts. Now, the people who have appeared before us, they have said that now that we have realized 99% of the money we pay is actually for capacity charge. It is never for generation. But some of them are done with their generators. Their contracts have expired. And these generators, which do not require capacity charge again, which amounts to 99% of the total money, they want to give us these generators for free. So what is the comment by the ministry in view of the fact that the claim by some of these stakeholders or IPPs are saying that some of these equipment can still be useful to Kenyans for the next 10 years? Suppose you throw them away. Do you now bring new ones and then we pay again 99% capacity charge? What is your opinion in, as long as these generators are acquired for free and they are not going to incur any capacity charge? What is, in your opinion, the benefit of keeping these generators for emergency purposes in case at a point in time that we might get demand? Because I think one of the issues we are facing is a lack of demand. So, and again, you can also tell us this harmonization of HFO, what do you expect? How much benefit? Suppose we complete the standardization. Are we going to say get 50, 20% a reduction, 10% reduction? What is it that we are going to get? That said, we also are unable to explain why you are giving different rates for fuel for different generators and also signing different power purchase agreements for different people to supply the same thing in cases where conditions look more or less the same. So, Waziri, I think we must agree that these problems we are facing, it is a problem we inherited, we intentionally acquired. And we must be extremely careful when we are engaging with any new power purchase agreements so that we don't take ourselves into problems. Then we start running up and down here. Then we can go to Mawade, then Elisha. Then in that order, we can go after that to Mandazi. Yes.
Thank you.
It's Kenya Power. Chair, if you look at that page 1 and 2, Chair, you will get to see that there are new IPPs that are coming in, that have been signed contracts, but they have not generated. Yeah, my question would be the tariff already. Waziri, is it possible to know how much tariff have they negotiated? And is it possible before they start, can we renegotiate those tariffs to go down? I know it's a headache. And my comment would be in the same pace, Waziri. Is it possible we have a conversation with this committee, the Ministry and the Committee of Energy, have a sitting together? I know it's a big elephant in the house, so that we can actually speak candidly on the issue of power in this country. We put our heads together. Because I believe if you look how many IPPs have signed contracts here, there are so many. Some 6, 15, and you are not there when they signed. So, and all of us are in these offices for some time. But this country is bleeding. How should we sit down and try and get our way out of this menace that we are in? And my second question would be, if you look at the pricing, it goes with the dollar and the euro. Is it possible to standardize it into one? Because you see, the euro is 126 now, the dollar is 141. Is it possible to do a standardized? We negotiate and do a standardized pricing instead of having people who will say, I'll do a euro because the euro is huge now and we'll make profit in that. We'll do a dollar this. Because I believe if we standardize, then we will try and bring it down instead of this issue. And finally, Waziri, Chair, the last parliament we were together in the same committee with some members here. We were speaking about the same issue on power. The Ngumi report is there, the presidential, we are here, it's the same. Is it possible to get one thing done? Because so that we don't seem to be chasing a mirage here, that we will not solve that issue. Can we have a really conversation to save Kenyans, not just to sit for the sake of, but to save Kenyans this headache of power? Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Mheshimiwa Mawade.
Chair, I would have thought we would have given DG EPRA the opportunity to answer the questions that we asked that he did not answer. I thought that would have been the first, so that we can, because we have probably about 6 additional questions, some that pertain to KPLC. Wouldn't you think that would be the correct way, or do you just...
You will be the first one to start.
So can we give
No, you ask your question, because there could be also a follow-up questions, and the other members also who didn't ask questions, which are equally important, that now when they start answering, they can answer in one lot.
Chair, I know now you are reversing and you're backtracking, because in your statement you said, I give you 3 minutes to finish making your presentation, and then immediately following making your presentation, then please you'll answer those questions. It's okay now, but...
It's okay, you can add your questions.
Hakuna shida.
Please, yes.
Hakuna shida. First of all, allow me to start off with the charges. I think you indicated that EPRA makes about 3, or not, that's a wrong way to frame it. EPRA charges 3 shillings per kilowatt. Is that correct? dollar of Kenya shillings. I withdraw.
Would you like to go first as you frame the question?
Yes, you can proceed.
Okay, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think mine is simple. I think the CS spoke to the G2G, which is very clear. And the traction for me is that we moved on that depreciation from 3 to 1%. And that's what I was asking you, percentile charge, adjustment charge. That's what I was adding to. You didn't seem to answer it. But one of my constituents has sent me a message. She has said that on the 15th of June, she bought tokens for 1,500 shillings. And the unit that she got was 53.79. On the 10th, which is yesterday, she again bought tokens for 1,500 shillings. And the units that she got was 47.41. It's the same meter. I think this is a question that majority of Kenyans would want to ask, and they keep on asking. And this is a conversation that we need to ask, so that any ordinary mama mboga knows that when they buy units worth 1,000 shillings, it is consistent that it will stay on, like, you get 29 units. Because mama mboga is on the lifeline tariff. The tariff is the same. It's not different from a commercial. It's different from a commercial tariff. So this is what we need to help Kenyans be able to know. And I think what Chairman has said, and I think my other alluded to it, we need to have a conversation as leaders, Minister of Energy, and members of Parliament. We spend 3 hours and come out of there, agree, this will be the price per unit charge, per kilowatt hour. I think then we'll be helping this country. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, Mheshimiwa Mwada.
If I may ask, what is the cost of electricity per kilowatt in Kenya? Also, since we are in competition with our neighbors in terms of business and investment, what is the cost of electricity to the ordinary mwananchi in a place like Ethiopia or Tanzania or Rwanda? We are talking a lot of what we would say outside there to the common mwananchi, let's say in Mukuru kwa Njengo or pipeline, kizungu mingi. What I want to ask is, Waziri, what are we going to do to reduce the cost of electricity to the common mwananchi, so that, and also to the ordinary, to the investors in the country, so that they can stop running away from Kenya? Thank you.
Mandazi.
Thank you, Chair.
After Mandazi, it's you, Chonga. Then we will have 2 more. Then we can have Waziri and your team looking at the time, and probably need to spend some 15 minutes to make responses to those.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. At 1, I will request that you call me Victor, because if you call me Mandazi, people will be angry and want to end it. Chair, allow me bring to your attention a presentation by Kenya Power, Annex 1. Annex 1, page number 7, number 24, Sosian, with a capacity of 35 megawatts, and the unit cost is 0.07, which is an equivalent of Kenya shillings 9.88. Now comparing the same with quantum, which is in page number 13, with the same units, same technology, and now variance in tariff of 0.04 USD, which is an equivalent of 5.65 Kenya shillings. My question is simple. Why the variance in tariff? Thank you.
Mheshimiwa Chonga, you've waited for long. You are very patient. Mheshimiwa King'ara, then Jane, then Barongo.
Thank you, Chair. Mine will be very brief because of time. Mr. Chairman, when we met the IPPs, or independent power producers, Mr. Chairman, some of them were willing to renegotiate with Kenya Power. My question, Mr. Chairman, has Kenya Power approached them so that they can start renegotiating? Because, Mr. Chairman, our essence of being here is to have cost of power going down and also giving hope to Kenyans. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, we were told that we had 22 IPPs that last time, but now I have heard that there are about 19. The question is, noting from page 8 of this document, Mr. Chairman, it is indicated that the thermal power production is at 8.44%. That's not a big number. So, can the minister maybe tell us what is the ample number of IPPs which we need to work with so that we reduce the capacity changes? Thank you.
Yeah. So can we have a...
Thank you, Chair. My first question goes to the Cabinet Secretary. Last year in June, the then Cabinet Secretary for Energy, on realizing that Kenya Power and Lighting Company was not making a headway with negotiations with the IPPs, she appointed a negotiation team. And they made headway and submitted a report. How far are we with that report? Because I've had no mention of renegotiated rates in the report you presented. Then my second question goes to KPLC. What determines which IPPs you purchase from and the quantities you purchase from them? My third question is, you mentioned about the 21 IPPs, and you said they produce 12 megawatts. And then you said KenGen produces 1904 megawatts. So my question is, how much was paid to the IPPs in total, and how much was paid to KenGen for that production? And then my second question on that part is, what is the maximum capacity that KenGen can produce? Is it that 1904 megawatts? Then my third question is a quick check on your documents took me to an IPP called Immensity Factory. All the directors of Immensity Factory are Kenyans, but in the PPA, the agreement is signed in the USD currency. Of course, I'm sure the first thing I'll be told is because they pay the equipment in foreign currency, and I'm sure I'll also be told the USD capital is cheaper than local currency. But, Honorable Chair, this is a comment. The true answer is because whoever advises the people signing these PPAs tells the Kenyans that they need to get an advantage, just like the foreign suppliers, and that is why they sign in US dollars. And I would want to make this clear. Safaricom is the most successful company in this country, and it has financed itself from zero using Kenya shillings, and that is how it's attained its success. So it's good for all of us to remember that Kenyans are no wiser. We know these arguments no longer hold, and kindly, let's work on reducing the cost of electricity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Shombarongo, we have to release Waziri, I think, in the next 10 minutes. Or how much time do you have? 5. We have to make it 10. But I am seeing a possibility of this meeting having to take another day. Barongo.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, please.
My question is to the DG of EPRA. Is it true that among the issues you are renegotiating with the so-called G2G is changing the pricing for super petrol from FOB Med to FOB Arab Gulf? And if so, we know that there's a differential of about $100. Is this going to be passed to Mwananchi? My next question is to the CS. I remember we had a committee meeting in Banari Hotel, and I indicated to him that some of the issues that G2G has brought to the country is that our attractiveness as an oil corridor has gone. So a lot of investors in the oil space are moving into Tanzania. If you look also at the process itself, some of the banks that had been financing those cargoes are actually now jittery. How can an environment like this be one that shows the G2G succeeding?
Thank you, Chair. Mine actually is not in the form of a question, but an observation following the presentation by the DG EPRA. Chair, is it possible that we as oversight committee can come up with the audit mechanism? Because the issue of cost of power, we are just focusing on IPPs only. But every time EPRA comes with the pricing, they have never questioned these IPPs or those contracts. But they keep on jumping, and from their presentation, which now actually brought up the questions that members asked midway the presentation, you will note that if there is any loss, maybe with Kenya Power, EPRA will happily just load over to the pricing. So is it possible that going forward, we also come up with an audit mechanism before they announce the new pricing in the energy sector? That particular pricing must have been checked by an independent body and confirmed that, so that we are not talking about forest adjustment and other things, because those stories will hear them forever. And those ones, if you follow the forest adjustment, you will find that there is no error. But there are small expenditures that are hidden inside there that are passed over the common person without us noticing. Thank you, Chair.
The last one.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay, to the KPLC team, there was a point where we didn't have meters, and consumers were being told to purchase meters. Some of them who are not able to purchase meters are still using power up to today without the meters. So, and I can attribute some of your losses to such. Many Kenyans are using power without meters as we speak. What are you doing as a company to salvage that situation? Then to the CS, CS, there are counties like Turkana, Samburu, Marsabit, those Asal counties, Wajir and whatever. Why can't we go the solar way? Because in Turkana, solar is assured. Whether it's rainy season or not, our solar is there. Why don't we invest in solar and wind so that we have enough power in the country? Then this subject of public participation, Bwana CS, I think most of our sagas in the energy ministry are not keen about public participation. I've not heard of any of our departments here doing very serious public participation, and that's why we are getting into too much criticism and too much problems. So going forward, Bwana Waziri, I think it is something to look into, so that as a ministry, we go well with Kenyans, we take into account what they want us to do. Thank you.
As you handle those issues, when I looked at this document, I've realized that the PPAs for Kengen are in Kenya shillings. Yet Kengen is the backbone. So this now brings a new ballgame in the whole saga of the currency. It is not because of those things you've been given. It is because before these guys sign in US currency, you sit down with them and explain here. Or how else, I mean, do you finance mega projects as in the size of what Kengen has done with, and the currency is Kenya shillings, and then you are unable to do a small fraction of power under the same Kenyan currency? I think we are not being sincere to one another. So let me, unless now you say your documents are the ones that are erroneous, so let me take, Waziri, we need to agree on how to progress with this. 5 minutes cannot be able to do us justice, unless now we allow this EPRA man, Kip, to respond to the hot questions that were asked, and then probably adjourn and continue with this meeting on a later date, because I do not see how you are going to be able to exhaust these issues that members have in 5 minutes. Unless you have a suggestion, Waziri and your team.
Chair, thank you, Chair. I also expected the Chair to be attending the commissioning of...
Yes, I'm attending.
You are attending?
Yes.
And suddenly you don't want us to be there after the President is midway with the
Correct.
function. Let's see, Chair. I think most of the questions really raised have been covered by the documentations provided. And as you may realize, the cost of energy, and that is why I said we need to ask ourselves serious questions. How do we crack bringing down the cost of energy in this country together? As Ministry of Energy, as Parliament, as a country, leadership, how do we make Kenya competitive by addressing some of these covenants which have been signed, and where, because we are all in energy, they are backstopped with a letter of support, backstopped with a PRG, and any small twinking makes Kenya an unfriendly investment destination, and they could end up being loaded on the debt because of the way power generation, for example, in geothermal. To generate 1 megawatt of geothermal costs $3 million US. So nobody will put in their $3 million US on 35 megawatts if they don't have a letter of support addressing political issues, addressing return on their investments. And so there is so much that we really need to crack together. But having said that, because of time, allow me to just make 3 general statements, but which will attempt as much as possible to address the questions which have been raised. Power generation components go into three aspects, 3 components rather. There is the EPC contract. The procurement of the EPC contract is procurement of machines, the installation, and so on and so forth, and the financing cost. Those 2 costs takes almost 80% of the cost of a power plant. And that is committed at the construction phase. By the time you are dispatching power, the EPC contract is basically spent, and the financing cost is addressed so that whether you finance in Kenya shillings or the dollar, the financing cost for purposes of bankability of a project is already factored in. A project cannot be bankable if somebody has not taken care of all the aspects of financing, including the cost of interest, whether it is the Kenya shilling or whether it is the US dollar. And I think if we were to open one contract and spend time to understand why the Kenya shilling was employed as opposed to the US dollar, you'll realize that it is economics. I don't think somebody would be crazy to do a Kenya shilling financing if the US dollar is cheaper, or do a US dollar financing or the vice versa. Because all this will factor into bankability and the tariff that will ensue negotiation. And if there is any area of cutting cost, it is basically in the EPC and the financing cost. Once those go, the O&M and the energy cost, the fuel cost, are not the significant costs in running a power plant. Most of the costs are really in the conversion. If you see the pass-through cost, which is due to fuel for geothermal, the cost of conversion is 5 cents for the question of Victor, where you talked about Soshan and Quantum, and the energy charge, which is the steam, is 2 cents. I think for Quantum you didn't pick up the energy charge of 2 cents. They're just about 7 cents, both of them. So the point really is, even as we talk today to the bringing down the cost of power for this contract, which was signed 10, 15, 20 years ago, and the EPC cost is already spent, including the financing cost was factored to make the project bankability and secured by government through a letter of support and a partial risk guarantee. How much can we reduce this cost? We need to engage seriously and see how much we can get out of O&M and some of those energy charges. But for the diesel generation or heavy fuel oil, what is coming out very strongly is capacity charge. Allow me, Chair, to talk to this capacity charge. And I want to analogize this to the insurance that the country buys to ensure that there's going to be power for the country all the time. We bring in the diesel generators to backstop the country when there's a drought. But if there was no drought the whole year, the heavy fuel generations may not run completely. But it is the way you buy insurance. If you think about, I don't think I've employed my insurance in the last 2 years because I've just basically been healthy. But I continue buying the insurance. So the question is, do I go and renegotiate it or do I cancel it? And suppose you get sick, suppose there's a drought, what do you do? So we need to understand the functionality of the heavy fuel oil as peaking generation, so that when we suddenly get a drop of solar generation during the day, the geothermal cannot come in immediately because geothermal wakes up slowly. When there is no wind suddenly, and you need to bring up the country to support the wind stoppage because of intermittence, it is the diesel generation where you can start in the next 2 minutes and push power to the grid. Otherwise, if you are going to wait for geothermal to bring back the grid on, you'll wait for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. And what do you do with industry? So we need to understand the science of why do we have this kind of capacity charge. We buy the HFOs and only employ them 5% through the year. That would not be otherwise a prudent investment, but their purpose is really not to run. It is to secure the country as an insurance. But I think we need to spend more time on that and ask ourselves, can we then renegotiate, given the fact that they have spent their 10, 15 years on the network? Can the capacity charge today come down? Those are the things we need to really look at.
And maybe to be more specific, Waziri, because we must get actionables.
Yeah.
It is important to tell us how much you've engaged with these people, because when we met with them, we asked them direct questions whether or not they are willing to renegotiate the capacity charge, and they said yes. The question is, who is handling that? Because while you are on the analogy of the insurance, I'm also persuaded to believe that it is also not fair to over-insure your car. If your car is worth 1 million, then taking insurance of 2 million, it is still some discussion that we also need to look at. How much have we taken as insurance? And we don't need all that, because the discussion has been, we've taken Kipevu out, for instance. After taking Kipevu out, we are not on blackouts. There was a strategy. So how many more can we take out and still remain without blackouts? I think that is a conversation, so that even as we talk about the capacity charge, we also now take idle capacity that is required, so that we do not have so much of installed thermal that we are paying for when we don't need it. Maybe we did over projections that by this particular time the demand will be so high, which has not been the case.
Agreed, Chair, and we can look at the numbers, and I really agree with you on that. But if you look at during the drought, where if you look at South Africa today, they have an installed capacity of 60,000, but many times only 60,000 megawatts. But they are load shedding because it's not available. In Kenya, we have got 3,000 installed. You've had about 2,100 available. So if there was a drought and the hydrology went down completely, do we have enough thermal to run the country, or when do we start load shedding? Those are the numbers we need to look at together. But allow me, Chair, to more specifically touch on the question raised by members. Elisha, Mheshimiwa Odhiambo, lifeline tariff. Why should a member pay 1,000 shillings today and get a different amount of tokens? And you do appreciate that if you buy the components of the tariff has got warmer, it has got fuel charge, which is varying. It is not a fixed charge. And it has got forex depreciation or appreciation. And therefore, there is no fixed charge. You will not get exactly the same tariffs because the cost of fuel is variable, the cost of forex charge is variable, and so on and so forth. So it cannot be exact, and I think we need to look at that specific customer who bought tokens and got a different amount of tokens. Again, we need to scrutinize that customer to see how much goes into REREC kind of recovery for connection. If there is a recovery, you can buy 1,000 today, and if your line is fully recovered for the capital investment to give you the line, because you know REREC connects for free, but then recovers the amount on monthly bill. There is a customer who will buy 100 who has been fully recovered, who buy 1,000 units worth of, and the line has been fully recovered. And there is one who pays 1,000 and yet recovery is going on. So we need to look at all those. When Elisha is not in the room, the cost of electricity. What is the cost of electricity? Yes, we endeavor to be cheaper than Ethiopia, cheaper than Tanzania. That's the only way we can stay competitive. So we need to continuously look at these numbers and ask ourselves, how do we stay ahead of Ethiopia to attract foreign investors, to attract the global firms? What are we going to do together to reduce the cost of energy in this country? And I think, Bwana Mawade, this is what we are doing together today. It's not going to be a simple answer, but we are working to reduce the cost of energy, and we must do it. That's the only way we can keep this country afloat. Victor, Mheshimiwa, have answered the question of social and quantum. If you check, there is a component of steam which we didn't capture on the quantum of 0.2 cents. Otherwise, they are both an average of 0.7 cents. But while here, let me say, the biggest challenge, even as we bring new power plants, and I'm looking at one of the documents in the file, are these renewable energy mix in solar and wind, which are take or pay. If you see the order of merit, which is somewhere in our documents, the first, number one, dispatch is Lake Turkana wind project, which dispatches at 8.9, about 9 cents US, followed by Kipeto at about 14 cents. Those are not the cheapest. The hydro, which dispatches at 3 cents US, is number 2. But ordinarily, if you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can see it is number 6. So if there was enough if there was very little power required at night, we don't dispatch the 3 cents. We sell the power from Lake Turkana, Kipeto, Selenkei, Sedet, and Malindi. And these are the areas where Mheshimiwa Cicely Getit said, can we get solar for Lake Turkana or for Turkana for some of those far-flung areas? Whereas that power can only be available during the day, we can hybridize, and these are the things we'll be looking at together to going forward. Let me touch the issue of HF.